The warm morning sun poured through the towering buildings of downtown Ashbridge as hurried footsteps filled the sidewalks with life. Luxury cars lined the streets outside an exclusive financial district, where successful executives rushed from one meeting to another without noticing the people around them. Just as the traffic lights changed, a stylish woman accidentally dropped her designer leather wallet while stepping into a waiting limousine. She never realized it had slipped onto the pavement. Moments later, a tired-looking single father pushing a grocery cart with his 8-year-old daughter spotted the wallet lying beside the curb. When he carefully opened it to identify its owner, his heart nearly stopped. Inside were stacks of cash totaling nearly $40,000, several platinum credit cards, confidential business documents, and a family photograph. For one brief moment, life offered him a chance to solve every financial problem he had been carrying alone. Instead, he quietly closed the wallet, took his daughter's hand, and began searching for the woman who had lost it. Neither of them could imagine that this simple act of honesty would change all of their lives forever. Before this unforgettable story continues, if you believe kindness, honesty, and second chances still exist in today's world, please like this video, leave a comment, share it with someone who believes good people deserve happy endings, and subscribe to Kindness Paradise. Your support helps us continue creating emotional stories that remind us kindness always finds its way home. The single father's name was Owen Carlisle. 3 years earlier, he had lost his wife, Naomi, after a sudden illness that left him raising their daughter, Sophie, completely alone. Every morning before sunrise, Owen worked as a delivery driver, cleaned office buildings during the afternoon, and accepted small repair jobs at night just to keep a modest apartment over their heads. Money was always scarce. Some evenings he quietly skipped dinner so Sophie would never notice there wasn't enough food for both of them. Despite every hardship, he refused to let bitterness enter his heart. Naomi had always told him that integrity becomes most valuable when life offers an easy chance to abandon it. Sophie inherited her mother's gentle spirit. She never complained about wearing second-hand clothes or celebrating birthdays with homemade cakes instead of expensive gifts. As they walked together through the busy streets that morning, she looked up at her father and smiled with complete trust, believing he could solve any problem in the world. When Owen explained that they had to return the wallet immediately because it belonged to someone who was probably terrified, Sophie nodded without hesitation. She proudly told him that her mother would have made exactly the same decision. The wallet belonged to Vivian Hawthorne, founder and chief executive of one of the country's fastest-growing investment firms. Brilliant, determined, and respected throughout the business community, Vivian had spent years building her company from almost nothing after losing both parents at a young age. Although enormously successful, she trusted very few people. Experience had taught her that wealth often attracted dishonesty. By the time she realized her wallet was missing, panic rushed through her. The money could be replaced, but the confidential documents inside contained sensitive information about an upcoming charity acquisition that, if leaked, could destroy months of negotiations. Meanwhile, Owen managed to identify the investment firm's address from one of the business cards inside the wallet. Without counting the cash again or touching anything else, he and Sophie boarded 2 city buses to reach the impressive glass headquarters across town. The receptionist initially assumed the plainly dressed father had entered the wrong building. Several employees glanced at his worn jacket and old shoes before quietly returning to their conversations. Owen politely explained that he simply wanted to return something important to the company's CEO. At that very moment, Vivian was preparing to notify the police when a security officer informed her that an unknown man claimed to have found her wallet. Suspicious but desperate, she asked for him to be escorted upstairs. As the elevator doors opened, Owen stepped out holding the wallet carefully with both hands while Sophie stood proudly beside him. Without asking for a reward or even introducing himself, he simply handed it back exactly as he had found it. Vivian immediately opened the wallet and checked every compartment. Every dollar remained untouched. Every document was perfectly organized. Nothing was missing. Deeply surprised, Vivian thanked Owen repeatedly and offered him a generous reward. To her astonishment, he gently refused. He explained that honesty should never depend on payment and that he wanted Sophie to grow up believing people should always do the right thing, especially when nobody is watching. Those simple words stayed with Vivian long after Owen and his daughter quietly left the building. For reasons she couldn't fully explain, she found herself standing by the office window, watching the father and daughter disappear into the crowded morning streets. Something about them felt unforgettable. Unable to ignore the feeling in her heart, Vivian quietly asked her driver to follow them from a respectful distance. She expected to discover that the humble father had invented his story or perhaps planned to ask for something later. Instead, what she witnessed over the next several hours would completely change the way she measured success, wealth, and the true meaning of character. Vivian's black sedan moved quietly through the bright afternoon streets, keeping a respectful distance behind Owen and little Sophie. She expected them to celebrate after refusing the reward, perhaps meeting friends or making some secret arrangement. Instead, she watched something that slowly broke down every assumption she had ever made about wealth and success. Owen stopped at a neighborhood grocery store, carefully counted the few dollars in his pocket, and bought only bread, milk, eggs, and a small bag of apples. Sophie happily carried the apples as though they were the greatest treasure in the world. Neither of them complained about what they could not afford. They simply smiled at one another, grateful for what they had. A few blocks later, an elderly homeless veteran sat alone on a bench with a cardboard sign asking for food instead of money. Without hesitation, Owen removed half of the groceries from his own bag and handed them to the man. Sophie added one of her apples with a cheerful smile. The old veteran's eyes filled with tears as he thanked them repeatedly. Hidden inside her car, Vivian felt her own eyes growing wet. The man who had returned $40,000 without taking a single bill had just given away part of the little food he had managed to buy for himself and his daughter. The driver eventually stopped outside a modest apartment building that had clearly seen better days. The walls were faded, the stair railings showed years of wear, and the roof needed repairs. Vivian quietly watched Owen unlock the apartment door before helping Sophie with her homework at a tiny kitchen table. Through the window, she saw family photographs, children's drawings, and a framed picture of a smiling woman surrounded by candles. It did not take long to realize the woman had been Sophie's mother. Even after years of loss, her memory remained the heart of that little home. Curious and deeply moved, Vivian spoke with the building manager before leaving. She learned that Owen worked 3 different jobs every day to keep Sophie in school and pay for her medical treatments after she had developed a chronic heart condition. Several months behind on rent, Owen still found time to repair broken furniture for elderly neighbors without accepting payment. According to everyone in the building, he was the first person to help whenever someone needed assistance, even when he had almost nothing himself. That evening, Vivian returned to her office unable to concentrate on business reports. The unopened reward envelope still rested on her desk. She realized she had spent years surrounding herself with wealthy people, yet very few possessed the honesty and compassion she had witnessed in one ordinary father during a single afternoon. For the first time in many years, she questioned whether success meant building a larger company or becoming a better human being. The following morning, Vivian quietly visited Sophie's elementary school without revealing who she was. Speaking privately with the principal, she learned that Sophie was one of the brightest students in the district. Her teachers described her as kind, respectful, and always willing to help classmates who struggled. Yet they also revealed that Owen often skipped parent meetings because he was working multiple jobs and had recently requested extra time to pay for school supplies. He never asked for charity. He only asked for time. Vivian walked back to her car carrying emotions she had not felt in years. She finally understood why returning that wallet had seemed so natural to Owen. Honesty was not something he practiced when life was easy. It was the foundation upon which he had built everything, even during the hardest years of his life. At that very moment, she made a decision that would forever connect her future with the quiet single father who had expected absolutely nothing in return. If this story has touched your heart so far, please like this video, share it with someone who still believes kindness exists, leave a comment, and subscribe to Kindness Paradise. Stories like this remind us that the greatest riches are often found in the hearts of ordinary people. Special request: before the ending, please comment, "Honesty always finds its reward." The next morning, a sleek black car stopped outside Owen's apartment. As he stepped outside to leave for work, he saw Vivian standing beside it with a warm smile and a sealed envelope in her hands. But this time, the envelope did not contain money. It contained an opportunity that neither Owen nor Sophie had ever dared to dream about. The golden morning sunlight bathed the small apartment building as Owen stepped outside, ready to begin another exhausting day of work. Seeing Vivian Hawthorne waiting beside her car, he immediately assumed she had come to insist that he accept the reward he had politely refused. Instead, she greeted him with genuine respect and handed him the sealed envelope. Inside was not a check, but an offer to become the full-time facilities and operations supervisor for her company's headquarters. She explained that after quietly observing him, she had realized she did not need another employee with an impressive resume. She needed someone whose character could never be bought. The position came with a generous salary, health insurance for Sophie, flexible hours, and opportunities for professional training. Owen stood speechless, unable to believe that one honest decision had opened a door he had never imagined possible. Although deeply grateful, Owen hesitated before accepting. He admitted that he had never managed a large corporate building and feared disappointing someone who had placed so much trust in him. Vivian smiled gently and told him that skills could be taught, but honesty, humility, and compassion could not. She had spent years hiring brilliant people, only to discover that many lacked integrity when it mattered most. Owen already possessed the one quality she believed every great leader needed, the courage to do the right thing even when no one was watching. Over the following months, Owen transformed the workplace in ways no consultant or executive had ever managed. He treated every employee with equal respect, from security guards to senior directors. He remembered birthdays, listened to people's concerns, and quietly solved problems before they became crises. The atmosphere inside the company slowly changed. Employees became kinder, departments worked together more closely, and even productivity improved. Many executives later admitted that the greatest improvement had not come from expensive technology but from the quiet example set by a man who had once pushed a grocery cart through the city streets. Sophie's life changed just as dramatically. Thanks to the company's health benefits, she received the medical care she needed without her father worrying about impossible bills. She continued to excel in school, always remembering the lesson her parents had taught her, that kindness is never wasted. Every afternoon she waited for Owen outside his new office, proudly greeting the employees who had become like an extended family. Her laughter filled the building with warmth that no amount of money could ever purchase. Vivian also found herself changing. Watching Owen and Sophie reminded her that success meant far more than profits and prestigious awards. Inspired by their example, she launched a foundation dedicated to helping hardworking single parents with housing assistance, education, and childcare support. She named the program the Honest Hands Initiative, explaining during its opening ceremony that one man's decision to return a lost wallet had restored her faith in humanity and inspired an entire company to measure success differently. 1 year later, during the foundation's annual celebration, Vivian invited Owen onto the stage. In front of hundreds of employees, community leaders, and families whose lives had been transformed, she shared the story of the lost wallet. She told everyone that $40,000 had never been the greatest treasure inside it. The greatest treasure had been discovering a man whose integrity was worth more than any fortune. The audience rose to its feet in a long-standing ovation as Owen, overwhelmed with emotion, simply thanked his late wife for teaching their daughter, and him, that honesty is the richest inheritance a family can leave behind. If this story touched your heart, please like this video, share it with someone who still believes good people exist, leave a heartfelt comment, and subscribe to Kindness Paradise for more emotional stories about hope, compassion, and second chances. Special request, please comment, kindness always comes back. As the sun slowly set beyond the city skyline, Owen and Sophie walked home together with smiles that money could never buy. They had started that unforgettable morning with empty pockets and uncertain tomorrows. They ended it with something far greater than wealth, a future built on honesty, dignity, and hope. And Vivian finally understood that the most valuable investment anyone can ever make is believing in the goodness of another human being. Sometimes, a single act of kindness does far more than return a lost wallet. Sometimes, it changes everything.